औज़ुबिल्लाहिमिनश्शैतानिर्रजीम बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम। सबसे पहले तो मैं मुस्लिम इंस्टीट्यूट के चेयरमैन हज़रत सुल्तान अहमद अली साहब, उनका मुस्लिम इंस्टीट्यूट का ऑर्गेनाइजेशन को तहे दिल से शुक्रिया अदा करना चाहता हूँ कि उन्हें ये मौका फराहम करा and it has given us the opportunity to discuss the matter of Junagadh, highlighting it in the international media. And ना तो सिर्फ ये बल्कि हमने बहुत से प्रोग्राम्स करे हैं। उनके बड़े भाई जो हैं हज़रत सुल्तान मोहम्मद अली साहब के साथ भी वो भी होते थे, आप भी होते थे ऑन मुख्तलिफ फोरम्स पे और मुख्तलिफ मीडिया में। एंड कहने का मतलब ये है कि हम लोगों ने वी हैव डन क्वाइट अ considerable amount of work on the Junagadh issue. So my heartiest gratitude I'd like to offer to the Royal House of the Sultan Bahu, Rahmatullah alayh, and simultaneously to our Minister for States and Frontier Regions, जिनके साथ हमारा सारा जो है जितने भी हमारे it's like our mother या parent Ministry of States and Frontier Regions. So Nawab of Junagadh के जितने भी मामलात होते हैं वो सरकारी सतह पर तो it is dealt by the Ministry of States and Frontier Regions on the behalf of the state of Pakistan. And simultaneously, I am very much grateful to all the honorable speakers who are giving such lovely suggestions and have spoken so well on Junagadh, and they are well, informed on the aspects of Junagadh. So please let me convey my heartiest thanks to all our guest speakers, and उसके साथ ही I would like to just briefly, if you will allow me, to just take you a little back in the time in history. So just you have a background, and I think we always feel that if there is an issue and if there is a family involved and the state is involved, तो उसके अंदर ये ज़रूरी होता है कि उसके थोड़े माजी के ऊपर भी रोशनी ज़रूर डालनी चाहिए। तो इस वक्त मैं आपसे इजाज़त चाहता हूँ कि मैं कुछ थोड़ी हिस्ट्री बताऊँ आपको जूनागढ़ के बारे में। तो मैं इस मौके पर ये बताना चाह रहा था कि it's a very ancient house of the Nawab of Junagadh, and with a lot of history, and ये हैगा कि actually we originated, our family hailed from Afghanistan and Kandahar, और वहाँ at that time उस मौके पर ये अपने they were in the government of Afghanistan, और उससे पहले भी मैं वैसे तो हम अपनी फैमिली को ट्रेस बैक करते हैं फ्रॉम हज़रत आदम अलैहिस्सलाम, मगर ये था कि तारीख इस बात की शहादत देती है कि हमारे जद अमजद जो थे वो वहाँ जब फतेह मक्का हुआ और जिसकी क़यादत रसूलुल्लाह सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम फरमा रहे थे इस गज़बे की, उसमें उनने पार्टिसिपेट करा फतेह मक्का की जो जंग हुई है। तो दिस वाज इन वेरी शॉर्ट हिस्ट्री, इसके बाद फिर ये हुआ कि जब शेर शाह सूरी ने दिल्ली के ताजदार पे कब्जा कर लिया और हुमायूं को हटा लिया, तो हुमायूं वहाँ से हिंदुस्तान छोड़ के चले आए, और ये खुरेसा के जो इलाके हैं और ये हैं उसमें वो घूमते रहे, एंड देन ही फाइनली ये वहाँ पहुँचे. They reached over there in Kandahar, and over there he met this gentleman by the name of Osman Khan Babi, who was one of our forebearers. And you know, at that time he was a very powerful man, Osman Khan Babi, and he had his own army. And then what used to happen was that a lot of these armies used to get together, and they used to make an allied force, and then they used to go for the final assault on Hindustan. And so this is exactly what happened, and they accompanied the Mughals, and they came to Hindustan, and then of course there was a battle over there, and we belonged to a warrior clan of Pashtuns. You know, the Babis are basically, we are Pashtuns, and so after this this assault, Sher Shah Suri was deposed, and after that Humayun was installed again on the as emperor of the empire of Hindustan. And thence onwards, my forefathers, they kept on serving the Mughals and the empire on different in different fields, you know, and they took up different assignments, like and they remained like on high positions as the commander-in-chiefs and generals and statesmen, and so they were very much respected over there in the courts, and their status, their respect was equivalent to the Mughal imperials. And then after that, after some considerable time, then of course the Mughals started to become very weak, and then the British came over, and by then, but rather at that just before the British came in, and the Mughals were losing power there. So that is like around 1735, one of our forefathers, then of course they were given these Jagirs, they were given these lands in recognition to the services they used to render to the Mughal imperials. So in 1735, one of our ancestors, he decided that these lands, the Jagirs, should be converted, why not, into a statehood. So then in 1735, the proclamation was made, and thence onward, Junagadh became a sovereign and an independent state. And then, of course, the British came in, and then we had treaties with the British, and in which we, of course, accepted their paramountcy, but then independently we kept on ruling our state, except for a few sovereign rights which we had surrendered to them, which were like defense was, of course, one of them, and maybe one or two others. But there was least interference in the running of the state. And the state ran very well, and we had a concept of a totally welfare state, where education was free right from the very beginning, from the primary to the very highest levels. And then if you talk about the healthcare, the state government was responsible for all the hospitalizations, and the medicines were the express responsibility of the state. And then there were langars, you know, which was distribution of free food for all the needy people. Uh, so they were making, they were serving some lovely foods, and the Nawabs themselves used to go and eat from time to time at those langar khanas. And then after that, uh, there were mazar sharifs. So langars were allocated for the mazars. So the needy people used to come and, you know, fulfill their desires over there. And then at the time of the partition in 1947, these acts came into force, which were, of course, the Government of India Act 1935, and then there was another act, and there was then the Indian Independence Act of 1947, which were, of course, all endorsed by the and ratified by the British Parliament at that time, which, of course, by virtue of these acts, the the paramountcy, the British Imperial were exercising on Hindustan. It started to lapse and they started to recede. And, you know, India gains its freedom and its independence. And then, of course, India was carved, it was split into uh, two different dominions. So the dominions of Pakistan came into existence. And then by virtue of these acts, they were given, the sovereign rulers were given the right to choose whether to accede to the dominions of Hindustan or whether to accede to the dominions of Pakistan. So as a sovereign ruler, and of course there was the third choice also, which I think Hyderabad took on, which was to remain independent. So there were these three choices actually that were given. So my grandfather, being the sovereign ruler of the state of Junagadh, um, the people were very happy. It was a very well-fed state. The people were very, very satisfied. And although we had a little bit population, which was more of the Hindu community, but then of course they were well represented. They were well represented by their representatives, and so the state council, which was of course the state government, it consisted upon both the representations of the Hindus and the representation of the Muslims as well. So before the accession, my grandfather um, took an opinion from them that they were desirous of acceding the state with Pakistan. So what would your opinion be? And of course, the Hindu community, the people of the Hindu community said, "Okay, your forefathers have led us for several 100 years, and you know we repose our fullest confidence, and we repose our fullest trust in you, uh, and we are sure that whatever decisions you are going to be taking would be in the best interest of the subjects, and and the best interest of the future generations of the subjects, because the subjects were just like uh, uh, like the children, and that's why the subject used to call them Bapuji, which means, you know, father. And the Nawab of Junagadh was like a father to them. So everything went on very well, and then the instrument of accession was executed between the Nawab of Junagadh, my grandfather, His Highness Nawab Sir Mahmud Khanji, who signed on behalf of the state, and on behalf of Pakistan, it was signed by no less a person than Qaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah as founder, and first Governor General of Pakistan. They accepted the instrument of accession, and then this instrument of accession was, of course, it was endorsed, it was ratified by the first assembly of Pakistan, which was a Constituent Assembly, which was known as the Constituent Assembly of Pakistan. And then after that, what happened, the instrument of accession was signed on the 15th of September, and tomorrow is the 15th of September. And we are going to very proudly celebrate this day of accession. And we are very proud of it, that our state acceded with Pakistan, with all the enormous pressures which were being built up at that time. And they were trying to stop the Nawab of Junagadh from doing this act. But then on the 20th, so the instrument of accession was signed on the 15th of September 1947. On the 25th of October 1947, my grandfather had come to meet Quaid-e-Azam, because the instrument of accession was signed, in which we had surrendered three of our sovereign subjects, which is namely foreign affairs, defense, and communications. But however, there were no provisions of defense. So that's why he had come. And the Indian army had cordoned off our borders, although we were a maritime state. And this is why we thought we could accede to Pakistan. It is only the Verawal port, which is the principal port, one of the principal ports, and was our principal port of Junagadh, through which all the business used to be. It was a hub of business. All the business with the Middle East used to be, to India was going through. This is the port of Verawal, So it's only 200 miles, approximately 200 miles from Karachi, which is not a very long distance. So if you have nowadays, if you have a very high-powered boat, and if you leave from Karachi by the boat, so you can easily go and have lunch in Junagadh at about 1 o'clock or something like that. So anyways, this instrument of accession was executed, instrument of accession, and then on 25th of October, my grandfather came to meet the Quaid-e-Azam. And Quaid-e-Azam was not feeling very well, and so the meeting was delayed a little bit. And then on the 9th of November, the same year, 1947, the Indian armies walked inside Junagadh. And of course, we were no match for the Indian army, because defense we had given to the British Imperial at that time. So we didn't have any sort of A-class units. We just had ceremonial and B-class units. We didn't have a naval fleet, or we didn't have an air force, nor did we have any heavy artillery or armored or any sort of that type of defense, mechanized defense system. So 9th of November, the Indian forces forcibly took over illegally the territories of Junagadh, and which was against, of course, the norms and principles of all international law. And I have seen the Charter of the United Nations, and it clearly mentions that no large state shall have the right to take over a smaller state with the force of its military might. So this act of India, which India had committed, is an act of aggression, we feel, and against, of course, all norms, like I said, in principles of international law. And nobody could have imagined that India was going to do this, that it's going to take this type of an act. Because you see, we have to bear one thing in mind, that there were so many princely states. There were 562 princely states in India. And there were a lot of states where the majority were Muslims, and the ruler was a Hindu or a Sikh or something like that. So that was not the criteria. So the criteria was that the sovereign should, it was the sovereign's choice. And then in other instance of Junagadh, the Nawab Mahbub Khanji had already taken the people of Junagadh into confidence. It was not a situation like in Kashmir when the people found out that the Maharaja is taking this step, or when the Indian army came in, and they were already revolting against the Maharaja from the very beginning. Or it was not a situation like what happened somewhere else in this world, like with the Shah of Iran, when the people rose up and there was a mutiny. So the people love the Nawab of Junagadh, and even today, the people love him wherever they are, and there are about 30 lakhs of people in Pakistan today, and I think what people say that there is uh, not a single person who doesn't think about Junagadh or uh, or the Nawab of Junagadh in a day. And I think if it's these people of Junagadh, then it is the same with all the people of Junagadh, wherever they may be in this world, as well as the people over there in our state. So that was our legacy, and then we came to and the family carried on because they had sent the armed forces. So my grandfather did not go back to Pakistan, and we have been living here ever since. And now we have decided to take over this challenge, and I have dedicated my life to this, and we want to see that Junagadh becomes a part of Pakistan. So wish all of you gentlemen, all of you dignitaries, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I would love to meet you all again. I'll request the Sultan Ahmed Ali Saab if we can all sit down and have a meeting sometimes, and we can discuss on how to move on this issue, uh, take it on more forward. Thank you very much. Thank you. I've taken